Welcome to another live stream. I never know what to say in the beginning of these because it either cuts me off halfway or I'm just staring at the screen, not saying anything until I realize that it's doing its thing. But I don't even know if it's doing its thing until after the fact. So, live stream, Vette build, C6, drift car build. So, in the video, there were a lot of questions, a lot of opinions, a lot of input on, what I should do. I kind of gave my game plan that I had thought of, and then I didn't explain it that well, and also you guys brought up a lot of really good opinions on the fact. So I figured we'd do this live so I can kind of discuss it with you guys while you're here and we're talking. So before we get into that, I want to talk about kind of the season end for the LS Miata. Again, I got to get my stool. It's the optimistic end. It's the end. All right. So again, optimistic end of the season for the Miata. Went pretty well. Overall, all things considered, went pretty well. If you didn't see, I know a lot of people don't really watch the drift videos. We went to the top 8, this final round of clutch kickers. We battled Randy and we lost. And it's kind of, drifting's tough because no matter how much you think you know of what the judges want, you never really know. Wait, what's up, Taylor? Quick thumbs up helps the stream. Yeah, good point. If you give it a thumbs up, it'll probably help things. You never really know what exactly they want. It can change from season to season, round to round, even battle to battle. What criteria gets judged harsher or worse changes. So, LS Miata, we went to the top 8, and I kind of have not a process, a strategy would be the best way to call it. I don't like to say it's a strategy because I try to kind of keep things loosey-goosey. I don't like to take it too seriously because that kind of takes the fun out of it. And if you do that, it just, just makes it a different experience. I try to just kind of go with the flow. We don't have spotter notes. We don't do any of this stuff. We're going to get into that build in just a minute, I promise. I want to cover this first while everyone's joining us here. So, yeah. My whole thing is, in drift comps, especially clutch kickers, I try to be consistent. Consistency is key, not making mistakes is key. That is the biggest thing. That and car reliability are 70% of the battle. If you can knock those two out, it gets you most of the way there. So that's my big thing, is just trying to be consistent. So to do that, I choose kind of when I take risk and when I don't. So I choose to not take big risk in the lead run and take them in the chase run because A, it's more fun to do it in the chase run. It's more fun to have a crazy chase run. B, it usually is rewarded better. If this guy had a better lead, but you had that much better of a chase, you would think that'd be equal, but usually they'll give the guy with the better chase the win. So that's my strategy because at clutch kickers, the two places where I play it safe. Congrats, can't wait to see you ripping at clutch kickers. Thank you, Dustin. The two places I play it safe is the first turn, there's an outer zone there, and then the touch and go. So the first turn, if you get into that outer zone early and deep, tiny margin for error. I mean, tiny, and the thing is, if you mess up, you're probably going 2 tires off, or at least 1 tire off. 1 tire off is a huge deduction, 2 tires off is a 0, which means the other guy could do 2 terrible runs, but it doesn't matter because you got a 0. So I play it safe there, get into it a little late, have more time to judge it. Then the touch and go. The touch and go, you flick at it, and it's once you're committed to that flick, there's not really much change you can make. You're either going to come up shallow, nail it, or hit it, and if you move more than 8 inches, it's a 0. So point is, take it easy in my leads, go aggressive in the chase. So in that top 8 battle, I did that. In hindsight, watching it back, I had a little bit worse lead. I was a little further off the first zone in the touch and go, but I was closer on the last zone. He was, better on those zones, but a little further on the last zone. But I did have a much better chase. But they chose to do it one more time. So that's kind of where it's tough because you don't know what they want. Because at the same time, last time I was in the top 8 at round 2 with Dirk Stratton, it was reverse roles, right? I had a little bit better lead. He had a little bit better chase. And I was hoping that they would have given us a one more time. Looking at it, you could see he kind of edged me out, but it was real close, and they gave it to him. And I was like, okay, I get it. They don't want to run one more times. They're going to give someone the win if there's a tiny edge. But then reverse situation here, then, they want one more time. So I screwed up the one more time. In hindsight, if I had watched the live stream and seen okay, I kind of have the edge. I just need to do a little bit better lead. then that's what I would have done. But I was like, I gotta go way harder in the chase. I'm just gonna send it. And I mean, it was really fun until I messed up. So, but that's part of it. You make mistakes when you push super hard. We got a new member, Plumbaz. Okay, so that Freedom Factory, that kind of segues us into this. So just hear me out. I know some of you are like, we're supposed to talk about the Vette. Why are you talking about drifting? Well, I mean, the start of this car is kind of the end of the Miata. So it's, I don't know, maybe I just want to tell you guys about my drifting, and otherwise you might not listen. So. All right, Freedom Factory, that was a good end. We won the Freedom Factory comp. And that event was a really good learning experience for me because basically I had all just my leftover stuff from clutch kickers. So the car was still in the trailer. I had a few tires left over. Most of the tires already aired down the clutch kickers pressure, which you can run a lot of grip at clutch kickers because it's a smaller track. When you get on a faster track, unless you have a ton of power, you got to pull grip out just to make it through the track. So I ended up having way more grip than I ever would have wanted to put in the car. And we made it work. We just had to run third gear. I appreciate the integrity and positivity this channel provides. I'm a track guy. Enjoy the wrenching. Thank you, David. We had to run way more grip. We ran third. So the problem is wheel speed. You need a certain amount of wheel speed to get around a certain track. So my third gear wheel speed was 88 miles an hour. My fourth is like 115. So it's a huge spread. So basically, even without a lot of grip in it, fourth is a little too long, but third's a little too short. I ended up having to run third, and I was able to do it. I just wasn't able to ride the wall on the bank. So this is where the good lesson comes in. Since I was running way more grip than I would have intended, and we just had to make it work and run third, I realized like, okay, this is where a quick change rear end would be huge, you know? Up until then, I've pretty much always been able to find a gear that works. You know, I understood the point of a quick change when people talk about changing, you know, a few miles an hour. I'm like, does that really make a difference? You know, like I can run third or fourth at some tracks and either one works. Like you're telling me 3 miles an hour makes a difference, but that circumstance is where it matters, where you're trying to run as much grip as possible, but still have just enough wheel speed. So if we could have changed the rear gear and gone from 88 miles an hour wheel speed up to 95, 98, 100, somewhere in that range, not all the way to 115, we could have pulled a tiny bit of grip out, had the wheel speed to ride the wall, but the car's still been super fast. So anyway, that was a cool learning experience. So overall, end of the season, solid. It was really fun competing at the Freedom Factory, competing at a new track. It's the first time I've really competed at a fast track in a long time. So, and this weekend we're going to drive a road course. That's going to be fun tomorrow. Okay, I know you guys are probably tired of the Miata talk and the drifting talk, so we're going to get into the Vette. So again, why we're here, for those of you who are just joining us, talk about the Vette build, engine combination overall, what power adder, so on and so forth. So my plan, I explained in the video, was to pull the motor out, put a motor in, so on and so forth. Let's go over the car for anyone who didn't see the car. Turbo plus supercharger, just do it. Okay, another topic here. I don't know if a lot of people realize, wait, hold on. Sin Daily, could you get away with stiffening the rear bar a bunch to ride the wall, even though the gearing was slightly short? So going back to the Miata, because that is a good question. I don't have an adjustable rear sway bar. I did crank the dampers all the way up and took all the toe out, but it still wasn't enough. Those NT01s were hooked up at 15 PSI. But we made it work. Again, if we could have changed the gearing and gone up to like 18 PSI, car would have been a rocket and rode the wall. Okay, sorry, sidetracked. Back to the topic. People will suggest a lot of weird cars. A lot of people suggested the A86 as a new comp car. This is not a great chassis for a comp car. The thing that you have to realize with any sort of race car, competition car, you know, a time attack car is a little different because, you know, it could not matter. John Green, geez, thank you. Is there a message? There's no message. Wow, thank you, John. You know, you could do a run and break it and fix it. Reliability, what I said in the beginning of this, reliability is paramount. Think about this season for me at Clutch Kickers, if you followed along. So I ended up 5th place. But my car broke 2 out of 5 rounds. So the first round, it was like I didn't even go. I qualified low, so I didn't get any points because the car was running on 5 cylinders. And I didn't even go do my first battle because I knew the car wasn't working. I wasn't going to put Ben's car in jeopardy. Ben Hobson. So no points for that round. Round 4 is when the subframe broke in the top 32 battle. So basically the very first battle, the subframe broke, we lost, we were out. So 2 out of 5 rounds, we essentially got no points. And the 3 rounds that the car worked, we did top 8, and we won. Now that was enough to get us 5th, but you think about if we could have done 2 top 16s, those rounds we basically missed, you know, we might have ended up in like 2nd place for the season, but because the car broke super early those rounds, it screwed us. So reliability is key. That's what I'm getting at here. So people will suggest weird swaps and, hey, you should do this crazy engine, this crazy car, but it has to be simple. It has to be reliable. If the car is unreliable, it doesn't matter how good of a driver you are. It doesn't matter how fast the car is, you know? It's not going to really help you. So moving to this car, let me show you. Can I turn the camera around? My arm's already getting tired, dude. How do people do this? So if you're unfamiliar with this car, I bought this car exactly as it is. I have not changed anything. I put it in the garage. We haven't touched it yet. So this is a C6 Z06. It's already got some crazy parts on it. It's already a race car. It's already got a tube front. It's already got a tube rear. It's kind of dark back here. I probably can't. Oh, hold on. I probably can't lift this by myself. It's a tube rear mount radiator. It's got a really nice cage. Now I did talk to Kevin Wells at FD. He was nice enough to respond to me. There's a couple things we might have to change, but I think the overall cage will be legal. We can take these bars out. The guy who built this cage and did the fab work on this car contacted me and said like why he put that there and that he didn't think it was needed. So we can get rid of those extra bars, which is cool. I wasn't sure why they were there. We got a question. Jeffrey Sanders, nitrous spill, and then nitrous used on big turbo cars as a spool. So there are some cars that use nitrous as a power adder. Travis Reeder, Chelsea and Vaughn, they use them as like full-on power adders. We'll get into that. We'll get into the different options. We're going to go over all of them. I'm going to explain my thoughts. So back to the car. It has Moton coilovers. It's got dual calipers in the rear. However, the way they did it, like they had to move the tie rod pickup point in, so it's got a ton of toe in, which I'd have to shorten the tie rod. I'm going to address that. That's a situation. It's got some DIY front angle kit. We're obviously going to change that. The engine, current setup. This is what you're all here for. I'm sure most of you already know all this. Can I zoom out? Is that thing? No. Okay. So it is a Borowski built 427. The 429 drop is supposed to get your attention. He wants to buy your motor. Well, I don't know if I'm selling it now because people are conflicted. So hear me out. So Borowski 427. It's a Dart aluminum block, Dart next gen block, Alpro LS7 heads, Callie's crank, yada yada. Built to the nines. Bottom end, the motor was dynoed there, from what I understand, at like 1900 horsepower. It's got a Precision GT42 turbo. Now, I think this turbo is probably honestly too small for this motor. I do think it would be super responsive, but it might be way too small for this big of an engine. And the engine, the turbo setup, is using a stock manifold on this side and a cast hooker on this side. So, I mean, it would definitely work. I think it would make 900 to 1,000, but this turbo is going to choke it out. It seems like a big, massive turbo, but for a V8, not that massive. So it's got a full 4-inch exhaust going all the way out. It's got an intercooler, got a wastegate. It's mostly done. Now, there's still a lot to do to this car, and this is why I was considering changing things now. A lot of people are like, it's almost done. Why would you change things now? Well, here's the thing. We got to do wiring. We got to do AN lines, coolant lines, oil lines, etc. Now, if we change this setup entirely, that's going to completely change our line routing. If we have headers going back now, our line routing might be different. If we have this, you know, so on and so forth. So I kind of have to pick what I want to do before I build it. Otherwise, we might put things in the way of other things. Now, we can probably build it with the idea and like finish it as is with the idea in mind of maybe having headers go there. Do you really need the power adder? So that's the thing. That's the big question mark. Let's get into that. I need to move my stool back. So my reasoning for not sticking with this stuff, basically, I am just not like turbo stuff adds complication. So you add a turbo, now you can have wastegate failure. You can have a coupler pop off. You can have, you know, boost creep. If you go lean, you can blow it up. There's extra ancillary things. So my idea was, if I'm driving this car at clutch kickers specifically, then I really wouldn't need more than NA power. 600-700 horsepower NA, 700 NA. would probably do the trick, because I weighed this car without the body panels and it was 2580. So with an NA setup, pull the turbo stuff off, if we could get it down to 2600 with the NA combo, that would be 50 pounds heavier than my Miata, 200 more horsepower, and as much tire as we want to throw at it. Now that would be plenty for clutch kickers, but if I want to go up to Pro 1, it's not going to be enough. Now again, Pro 1's a long-term goal, it is not a right now goal. Right now it's get the car done, drive clutch kickers, see how we do, see how the car does, work out the kinks, see how I do in a more competitive car. If I can't podium every round of clutch kickers, I'm not going to do anything in FD. I'm going to be useless in FD, you know? So I've got to see that first. But it would be nice to have the power adder on it now, and then that way we sort out the bugs with the power adder, not like, okay, we're going to FD now, let's put a power adder. So now let's get the power adder options. I know a lot of people, this has been a heated debate. There's so many comments. I'm going to have to scoot closer to read this. Okay, D-stroked LS for the win. So the high revving thing's kind of tough. Basically, I mean, really on any motor, but it's on an LS. Once you crack 550 horsepower, you're kind of screwed no matter what you do. And no, that was not a shot at LZ. My point is, if I'm not good enough to podium every round at clutch kickers, barring any car failures, like, I'm not going to be competitive in FD. Chelsea came his first time and basically won, you know? So for me to prove to myself that I'm good enough to go to FD, I would have to do really, really, really well at clutch kickers. I don't think people understand how much of a financial commitment FD is. It's insane. I mean, you're talking minimum 80 to 100 grand to run around on a budget, or to run a season on a budget. It's not just like, oh, let's go try it. I mean, you're talking about spending and investing a metric ton of money. So for me, it's like, if I'm going to invest that much money into doing this, I have to truly believe that I'm good enough to be competitive on that level. And I haven't proved that to myself yet. So I would like to prove that to myself first. And then if and only then, cool, let's go try it. But it's a big commitment to try, and then like to not do well, it would just be such a waste. Why not try Pro 2? So it's called Pro Spec now. The reason for that is because this car is not at all Pro Spec legal. So Pro Spec's going front mount radiator, Pro Spec's going pedal box, or no pedal box, no aftermarket column. What else? No sequential, which that might be, we got to get into the trans question mark. That's been a big, I've had so many question marks to try to figure out with this car, because it's like engine, power adder, or no power adder, trans setup. There's a lot of options there, but no sequential. I thought I was going to have to put a sequential in this car. We may not. So anyway, I would have to backwards build the car, make it less good, just to run Pro Spec, just to build it back to the way it is now. It seems kind of simple. I'd rather put the time in clutch kickers and that kind of stuff, and then use that as the learning and the experience and the proving myself. And if I feel like I can do it, just try to go straight to Pro 1. I don't know. So anyway, yes, power adders. Trevor Holtz, I love your humbleness and good vibes. Great channel. Thank you. So the options, right? What I was getting at is past 550 wheel-ish with the LS, and really an engine, you're going to add lack of reliability. So I'm stuck in the mentality of the way my Miata is right now. The way my Miata is, I don't really have to do anything. It just works. You know, there's really no maintenance. It's just change the oil, check the car over. It's pretty straightforward. Once you get into a 650, 700 horsepower NA motor, you have to rev it high to make that level of power. To rev it high, you have to have a much more advanced solid lifter drivetrain with adjustable valve lash, and you got to start checking the valve lash, every round, and that gets complicated. It's a strung out race motor at that point. You're out of turbo. You add other things, makes it complicated, right? Blower problems too. You have belt slippage, cooling, things like that. But I missed the question. John Gates here, definitely good enough. You have so much seat time. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I still need, borrow. Whoa. Thank you. What is that gift? Smashing up a city? That's not the F and FD mindset. I don't know. So, yes, they all have their question marks. They all have their added complications. So that's where I'm struggling. Now, it would be nice to finish it with this setup because it's already there, right? My biggest gripe with doing that, no, I'm not saying an NALS isn't reliable. I'm just saying to build a high horsepower NALS, you really pretty much have to go solid lifter to rev it out, to get the RPM, to get the horsepower. And once you add a solid lifters, then you've got to check valve lash. My point is, my motor in the Miata is basically a stock motor with a cam. I'm not going to get that and get that power level. So at any point when you try to get past 550, 600, you're going to just have more maintenance, more headaches, more things to do at every round in between per round. So my biggest gripe with the turbo setup, and if you don't believe me on this, go watch the Lone Star video with Nate Hamilton and why he changed his car from a turbo setup. The one biggest reason, noise. And I know multiple people who have done that, where they drive an FD with a turbo LS and the judges are like, we literally can't hear your throttle commitment. Like, we can't tell when you're on throttle. Like, they can hear the tires screeching on in the car. It's gonna be quiet, really, really quiet. Now, Jonathan Hurst found a way around that, and his car makes crazy pops and bangs, and it makes it like loud, because when it's popping and banging, it's super loud. And he told me he did that purely for that reason, because the car was too quiet. So that's a tough one. Dealer misses a Borowski engine donation. I didn't see that. Where is that? Oh, that's Borowski race engine. I just saw the first part of I saw borrow. Wow. Oh, thank you guys. Dude, that's exciting. Yeah, so the motor's sick. At this point, my plan is to leave this motor. So that's done and dusted. My idea was like, oh, it's a crazy motor, sell it, save some of that money, do the NA, but you guys are right. That doesn't make sense. That's a lot of work and silly. And I was able to get the build specs from Borowski of this engine and like everything about it, which is awesome. Now there's no question marks. So we're gonna keep this engine one way or another. Whether we put a different intake manifold on it and a different cam and run an NA for now, I already have the intake in case we want to do that, and sell the turbo stuff, or the option I'm really leaning towards, a roots blower. So I really want to put like a Magnuson on this car. If you've seen Alec Honadale's car, he has a Magnuson, and that thing is insane. It is, the torque level on that car is just absurd. It's almost too much from what I understand. Like quarter throttle is too much. Okay, hold on. I got to go back and answer this question. Procharger. So I like the idea of a roots blower better than a Procharger, but I'll be honest, I haven't thoroughly gone through and figured out like which one would be better for which reasons. Question about, I said going straight to Pro 1. So I would have to have done some really great things to petition for them to maybe accept that. I don't know that that's even possible. But my point is, I don't want to back build the car to run Pro Spec, at least not right now. Maybe I'll change my mind on that. Maybe I won't. Maybe I won't do it at all. But that's the thing. I don't want to completely shift my focus and not build this car the way it's already built, you know? Like putting a stock pedal box back in here and a stock column, that would be very difficult. Just for the idea of maybe running Pro Spec. I figure I'll run clutch kickers, these other types of things, and then see where I'm at in 2 years. Do I have the option to petition into Pro 1? Do I want to? Do I have the capability? Am I ready to take that commitment? So on and so forth. So no, you can't just go into Pro 1. You have to run Pro Spec, get your license. But people do petition from other countries, and in the country, people who haven't driven in years and lost their license, there are ways to do it. Whether I would qualify for that in a few years, I have no idea. Okay, back on topic. Engine, roots blower, Magnuson. Alan's car is what really sold me on it. If you can go watch some clutch kickers or go on his Instagram, see his car, it's absolutely insane. The response and the torque of that roots blower. And it simplifies packaging a lot, having the roots blower, because you know, you just got a blower there. Now you got to put a water box and a heat exchanger somewhere, but you don't have a big intercooler, you don't have a big Procharger sitting there. Nick Wilson. Do you have a video on how you did the removable door windows? I explained it in the paint video, or the new doors video. So yeah, for me, I like the idea of the roots blower. That seems to be my best option, or my favorite option, my favorite choice, because it kind of accomplishes all my goals. Now, I have figured out a complication. I'm talking to Matt Field, also shout out to Matt Field and Dirk Stratton. Both of them are like the people kind of pioneering, competing in a Vette. So, you know, I got my simple seat time carb Vette before Field, I think, started building his. And Dirk was the only person I knew drifting one then. Nobody made an angle kit, so on and so forth. It was uncharted territory. But these guys are really pioneering this, pushing the envelope of Vette drifting, and they have been super helpful, both Matt and Dirk. They've answered a ton of questions. And it's like you can't look this stuff up on the internet. You know, there's only like 2 pro drift race cars, or Vette race cars, and there is a complication. Someone said Whipple, not roots, way less heat soak. Well, Whipple is a roots blower. You mean not a Magnuson? Okay, so complication. Let me show you. So this car has a dry sump. You can see the pulley right there. That's for the dry sump. There's the cog on the crank pulley. Then you have the serpentine belt. Then you have the steering rack. So to run the Magnuson or any blower, from what I understand, we need a separate belt drive. So that pulley would go in front of this pulley. There's no room to put another pulley there because the steering rack's in the way. You can't move the rack forward because the rack's already pretty far forward. So I think you really want to move the rack back, if anything. So the other option is to move the engine back. And now that gets into the trans situation. So if you're not familiar with these cars, they have a normal bell housing, kind of, and then a torque tube, which is a tube with like an input shaft to a transmission in it. That runs back, and then you have the transmission in the back and then the differential. Mated together, transaxle setup. So because of that, that torque tube is a fixed length. You can't move the engine back any with the torque tube setup unless, maybe you've got a custom torque tube made. So, however, the trans option, things get complicated. And this is another dilemma that I've had, is what trans to go with, because it is a huge part of the build costs. Like, huge part of it. This car is definitely another realm for me, and I knew that going into it, but I'm having to acclimate myself. I thought I was balling out buying a $2,000 brand new CD09 for the Miata. This is a whole nother level. So, trans options. 1, build the stock trans. You can have RPM do the faceplated setup and a built diff. That's what Cletus runs in Leroy. Seems like that would be strong enough. The problem is you don't have the option to change the gearing. And if you were here earlier, and I was talking about how nice a quick change would be after running the Miata at the Freedom Factory, being able to dial in that gearing and basically have as much grip and wheel speed per your power, I really want a quick change in this car. I think it's definitely crucial. It's definitely crucial in FD. Like, you would pretty much have to have a quick change. So, stock trans building, not gonna work. Other option, rear trans torque tube, is the RTS setup. So it's the 6XD sequential, which means it is not legal for Pro Spec at all. Roots is actually a completely different type of blower. See, that shows, Douglas, how much I don't know about blowers. I need to educate myself. It's really something I've looked into minimally, like until now, as far as like a real race blower. So it's a 6-speed sequential, but again, that makes it illegal for Pro Spec if I ever wanted to change the car for that. But that's tough because, the other things I could change, that I can't change. And then it's the winner's quick change, mated together, boom. So 6XD, winner's quick change, all in the back, all transaxle, keeps the Vette setup like a Vette. Problem is, that setup is, with everything you need, over $30,000. $30,000. That's a lot for a transmission setup. That's a lot. And from what I understand, the RTS 6XDs are bulletproof. They're super good transmissions. But my thing with it is, like, I don't really want to pay a premium for a sequential when I don't actually, having a sequential hurts me, limits my options. And 2, I don't feel like they're important for drifting. You generally can gear the car to where, you might start in second, shift to third, fourth on the run up, and then you should only be shifting once while you're drifting. So if you gear that for third and fourth gear, it's the same thing. You push down to go down, pull back to go up. I don't think a sequential is great for drifting, or I don't think it really adds much of an advantage. So, last option, and this one is a bit of uncharted territory, and that's why I'm struggling. So I actually have a way to figure this out. The other option is to take the trans out of the back. Boom. RTS makes a kit for this too. or I think they're going to, I don't know. But nobody's really done this yet. People are doing it. I've heard of rumors of people doing it, things like that, but they're not, nobody have I seen that's done it yet. But basically, take the trans out of the back, put a normal GSR 4-speed dog box up front behind the engine, which again, it's not there now. The transmission is currently in the back. That's how they come. So the trans tunnel is not really meant to accommodate that. But it seems like it'll fit. So basically you move the trans to the front. So you put a dog box here, boom, drive shaft, and then mount a quick change in the rear. Now that setup is significantly cheaper, for one, than the rear mounted sequential, all that goodness. The other thing is serviceability. So right now, if you needed to pull the clutch out of this car, or even the throwout bearing, the hydraulic throwout bearing, you have to drop everything out of the back here. So you've literally got to pull the subframe, all the suspension, transmission, differential, torque tube, all out in one shot. That is a huge, huge undertaking. And I know this because that's what Matt Field has that setup. And this last round, he broke his car halfway through his qualifying lap and had to change the torque tube between qualifying laps. Somehow him and his team got that done, which is like a 3-4 hour job in like an hour. Props to them, man. I don't know how they did it. As soon as I heard the noise, I was like, oh no, that's a torque tube. He's got to pull all that out. And I mean, they managed to get it done, dude. It's crazy. Chase, dog box, drive shaft, quick change. Yeah, that's where I'm 90% there. So I want to, before I spend the money on that, because I mean, it's all expensive. Race transmissions are like $8,000, $10,000. Quick changes are like several $1,000s. Like this stuff's all expensive. So before I commit to one or the other, fortunately, Matt the Ginge has a, RTS GSR and a QuickTime bell housing, which is exactly what I'd be using in this, that he's going to let me borrow. It's like all brand new. So shout out to Matt, because that's going to be cool, because I'm going to pick that up hopefully this week, get the Vette back on the lift, pull the current drivetrain setup out now, and test fit that. Because I asked Matt Field, hey, now that this is becoming more of a thing, like, would you have done this instead of your setup? And he said absolutely not. And his reasoning is because there's not a lot of room underneath the Vette. Once you put a trans in that trans tunnel, that trans tunnel is where your exhaust goes. So if you put a trans there, there's not really anywhere to put your exhaust, because Vettes have a flat bottom floor pan. Like nothing hangs below the floor pan. The floor pan is dead flat, and then there's the tunnel for the torque tube, and that's where your exhaust runs. So that is definitely a struggle. And now if I want the car to be FD legal, the exhaust has to run on the back. If I didn't care, boom, easy. Freaking hood exit on the turbo, leave the turbo set up, so on and so forth. So that's definitely a level of complication. That's why I want to borrow Matt's, put it in there, and then I can kind of get an idea, look around, like, okay, this fits, this doesn't fit, oh, this would be terrible, the trans is like 2 inches below the floor, it's going to scrape, I got to run the car out like a monster truck. 660 is $20,000, yes, but plus the quick change and the torque tube and the clutch and all the other stuff. Versus, like $8,000 for a GSR by itself. Basically 8 versus 20 on the trans, and then the rest of the costs are pretty similar. But it's like, it's a big difference in the cost of the trans. Okay, so yeah, that's where I'm at. Again, want to try it this week. My idea, the reason I want to do this right now, like, I'm so into the turbo truck. I'm like moving and grooving. I got parts. I'm still waiting on a trans. Probably gonna pull mine out and get it rebuilt. But as much as I want to keep going on that, I really want to get this in the shop, figure out the trans thing, so I can order whatever trans setup I'm gonna go with now. I don't want to be waiting on parts. Like, we have plenty of time till next season, but that plenty of time comes up on you real quick if you're not paying attention. So I'm trying to get all the big major puzzle pieces together. So I have them. We have a lot of the stuff. We've got a bunch of stuff from Holly already. We've already got a Dominator. We've got a Smart Wire. We've got, Holly has been, is there a room to make the trans tunnel bigger? Dominic, yes. So on that topic, you can, as per FD rules, you can make the trans tunnel bigger to a certain extent. Like there's a maximum dimension. So I do need to look into it and see, like, if you can make the trans tunnel out of something else, and make it like removable. I'm not really sure. I'll have to look into that more, but I want to just kind of put the trans up there and get an idea of what it looks like. Because then I'll know. Because I mean, there's room for a bell housing, but that's the other thing. If we can move the engine back, that helps the supercharger situation a lot. And I was just looking at it, and I mean, it looks like you could if we open the trans tunnel. There's some things to figure out. Old style 4-speeds are pretty small casings. Yes, like the GSR 4-speed dog boxes and the Andrews, all of those, they're small. Like that's the only reason I feel like that this is even possible, because they're pretty small and they're pretty light. So it sucks because you're moving the weight off the rear. So for FD rules, you can go from transaxle to putting the trans at the front. That's legal. But you can't take the trans from the front and put it in the back. Now there's a reason for that. It's an advantage to have the weight back there. But I run a small team, like I don't think we'd be able to do what Field did, pulling all of that out and changing it in an hour between qualifying runs. So I would like to go with the front trans. Someone said something about Kevin's car's tunnel was strengthened. Yeah, I need to look at some people's cars and get an idea on how much, what you can do. There's measurements in the FD rulebook. It would be cool to have it removable, or at least have sections where you could get to the top bolts, like pulling the bell housing off. But again, we got to get the car on the lift, get this set up out, test that set up in, figure all this out. Someone said new Vette guy. Excuse me? Make your exhaust boom tube NASCAR style. You can't for FD. FD, you've got to run it out past the axles. Plus, again, the Vette flat bottom floor pan. Let me see if I can show you guys this. The floor is right here. So it's like your rocker floor. There's like maybe a half-inch up. So if you ran the exhaust under the floor, not even that low, and you don't even have room to put an exhaust under the floor. Not a lot of room there. And again, the car's, it's relatively low, but it's not even anywhere close to being slammed. So that's definitely a struggle. Vibrant has oval. Yeah, I would definitely have to use oval exhaust pipe to make this work. That's the idea. I just want to see how much room we have left. What do you think? Good first few upgrades for 2500 HD. I would keep it as stock as you can. A tune, though. Tune would be good. Oval exhaust for your clearances. You should do a shirt banner combo for next year clutch kickers. That is a good idea. So you're going pro spec next year? No. Going clutch kickers next year. And for the foreseeable future, we'll see what comes after that. Maybe we'll try to go pro spec. Maybe we'll try to go pro. Maybe we'll try, I don't know. I don't know what we'll do. But I'm just going to keep doing what I enjoy doing, which is clutch kickers. Someone said show the cage, please. I showed it. I'll show it to you again, though. So why not? So yeah. I definitely like the of finishing the car with this turbo setup. Again, all other things considered, the biggest thing killing me is the idea of it being super quiet. So it's tough. It's really, really, really tough. I may finish it as is. I may not. I may go supercharger right now. I'm leaning towards, if I can get one, putting a supercharger on it, non-centrifugal, a Magnuson on it, and going that route, instant torque. And then if we get rid of all this stuff up here, look at how much room we have for activities. If we ever wanted to do pro spec, we could put the radiator back in the front. Can't have a rear mount radiator in pro spec, at least not coming soon. So the cage, let me open the door, see if I can do this with one hand. I can. So super nice cage. It's all TIG welded. It's done really well. Now the question mark area is down here. Keep up the awesome work. Best of luck for the next season. Thank you, B-roll. So it has that extra bar, and I think just the way it's attached to this plate that bolts into the chassis is incorrect. It's supposed to be like an angle that it goes down to or something. So I need to look into that some more. Blake Walkoviak. Thank you. It's a hard name to pronounce. And again, this stuff doesn't have to stay. So the guy who fabricated it, I guess the idea was to tie both sides of the car together, but he doesn't really think it's doing anything. So we'll probably just cut all this out. Now, granted though, the harness mounts are there. So otherwise we're gonna have to go through the floorboard. As you can see, they've reinforced it here where the seat rails. So we probably just have to do that and some big washers. there are a lot of New Zealand people here. Shout out to New Zealand. It's like a beautiful place, and you have a lot of Sephiros. So yeah, what else do you guys want to talk about the car? Whipple Charger. So, I mean, I've been trying to see about getting Magnuson, seeing if they'll work with me in the program. If so, I mean, that would be the route I would go. I have notes here. Let's see. Options, pros and cons, power adder. Why NA for clutch kickers only? We kind of explained that. I think 700 horsepower NA would be plenty for clutch kickers. But if I want to grow out of that, I would definitely, if I went NA, definitely want to keep this engine so I have the headroom to do, an aftermarket, some sort of power adder. Do you plan on making build documentaries for the other swaps like you did the LS Miata? I really like the last two. I thought about it. I should do that. I should do it for the Subaru since it's gone. And then the Safiro, we just did that one. Let me know if you'd like to see the build documentary. Not the time-lapse one, right? Like the actual build documentary, I'll try that. Magnuson TVS would work pretty good since you're probably not going to push a ton of boosts through it. Yeah, it would be it's like an LSA style, but bigger. I don't know. Again, I need to educate myself more on blowers. How do you feel about the horsepower change and how your car gonna change your driving? I don't know. I'm curious about that as well. Like, I'm finally gonna get to see. Dirk had a bunch of issues with the Magnuson throwing belts. Did Dirk ever run a Magnuson? I thought he just put nitrous on his car. I don't remember him ever running a Magnuson. Chase, do a banner t-shirt combo to fund the project. Oh, that's a good idea. I thought about doing that to buy the crazy expensive trans setup. Like doing a transmission on a shirt. Like, you guys want to see a pro car? Help. But like I said, probably gonna go to the front trans. But that's a good idea. I should do that if you guys are interested in that. I just hate asking for things from people. It's not that I can't do it. It's just, there's a lot between building the car and running the season, like trying to run FDO. It's a lot, man. It's just a huge commitment, time-wise, financially. So I just got to know if I really think I'm good enough to go compete there. Because if I don't, then what am I doing? I couldn't afford. I couldn't live with myself spending $100,000 to go there and not doing well, or not doing at least okay. So that's why I'm just going to keep doing what I like doing and where I like competing, as long as it exists. Clutch kickers is really the best middle ground. Like, you get to compete against really good drivers. The top 30 dudes there are killer. The event staff is awesome. They're always making changes. They're always making improvements. They're always listening to the drivers. And I don't know, it's just a great environment and really, really good competition. Like, it is so tough to win there. So yeah. What were we talking about? History on the build would be a great topic on this build. NA with a quick change and add nitrous. Oh, I didn't discuss nitrous as a power adder. So I did think about nitrous as a power adder. But I think you need a different piston type, which, like, if I'm pulling the motor out to put different pistons in it, that seems like a lot. B, which I need to ask Borowski if this would be like this. I would assume this engine spec would work fine with a blower. It's forced induction. I wouldn't think that would matter. B, I like to try to keep. I would buy a t-shirt for the sequential. What about the front trans? Would you buy a t-shirt for that too? It's still expensive. It's gonna help. Nitrous. I like things to be, and again, I have to realize that this is gonna change, but I like things to be as turnkey as possible. Like, I don't like having, for example, I'm going drifting tomorrow, and I just realized when I put the scooter back in the trailer, tomorrow, I don't have any E85, and it's like a 45-minute drive each way to get E85. So luckily it's the end of the season. I have flex fuel. I'm just gonna put the Miata on pump gas if I run out, but like to add filling nitrous bottles into that, Travis Reeder, again, Chelsea has a good video on his car, and it's a good one to watch because he's a more budget guy going, building a pro level car, and he did a killer job on that E46 build, picked up a lot of cool tips and tricks. But he's running a nitrous combo, and he runs a 300 shot, and he said 2 laps to a bottle. The bottle is usually, not fully empty at that point. But you got to change the bottle every 2 laps. Now, granted, you're changing tires every 2 laps and you're fueling up every 2 laps, but I guess I just can't wrap my head around that difference compared to what I'm used to. My wife is a tattoo artist. She said she will drop some merch ideas. Dude, that would be awesome. I am not creative at all. Can you send me an email, Ben? It's taylordrifts@gmail. I have 300 cutoff gas bottle. You can do the mother bottle. Yeah, that's what he does. He has the mother bottle in the trailer. As a GT 500, TVS units are definitely the way to go. You get that NA feel, tons of torque. They make so much torque. Do you plan on going to any Lone Star? Yes. My whole plan was to go to Lone Star this year. I'm just bad at traveling this year, man. I have become a homebody between having the dogs and, you know, my girlfriend living with me now. We were together for like 3+ years before we finally, you know, got this place moved in together. And then projects, you know, like if I'm gone, I can't work on my projects. And like, I have just as much fun building the projects as I do going and traveling and doing those things. So it's like, it's tough for me. Like I'm still trying to make Drift Week happen, which is like coming up on me so quick, you know? I might not even have time to ship my car now because I've been a slacker and flaky because it's a big trip and it's all on me. You know, there's no excuses other than me just being flaky and not committing to it earlier. So, yes, though, I do want to go. I love Lone Star events. They're awesome. I have had so much fun driving Lone Star events. Can you show the wastegate setup on the Vette? Sure. Better than me just standing here talking to you guys. They're sitting here. So it's a big, like precision. The Lone Star Matsuri event should be pretty sick if you can make it out. I need to figure out the dates. I only see Aaron post about them like right before, like 2 weeks before. That's not enough time to plan to go to Texas. Big, giant gate, welded on the housing, boom, screamer pipe. And then again, full exhaust. Man, you guys make me conflicted. It would be really cool to run it like this, but it's gonna be so quiet. Again, that is the biggest thing. Peter, wait, I made it to the party. Yeah, basically, really no answers, to be honest. Basically, the gist of it is, at the moment, my game plan for anyone who just got here is Magnuson blower or some sort of blower. On the engine blower, Roots, freaking twin screw, whatever. I just call them all Roots blowers, right? That kind of blower, front trans, GSR drive shaft, quick change mount in the back. Figure out how to run the exhaust. You should have come to the Riverside 10K comps. I know, and that goes back to me being a slacker with traveling and being a homebody lately. I really wanted to go, but the second one, I was committed. I was going to go. But they had to move it back to the week after Clutch Kickers. I just couldn't do that. Like, drive home from Clutch Kickers and have to pretty much turn around in a day or two and then drive 20 hours. Like, just couldn't bring myself to do it. But I really wanted to go. That track looks fun. They look like awesome event organizers. Seems like a really great place. It seems to be coming up. Kevin Wheeler. I like that emoji thing. That was pretty cool. Pay to spend a day with Taylor Ray to help fund the build. I would feel weird doing that. Broski, I wonder if they're still here. Broski, are you still here? Blower versus turbo on this engine. You know the specs. But that was really cool. So Broski saw the video, they reached out, and they obviously blurred out, you know, the purchase price and all the private details of the person who bought the motor and that kind of stuff. But were able to give me, you know, all the build documentation, like everything, thrust clearance, like every detail. So we now know every detail. I do still need to email them back and ask a couple questions. So what do you guys think? Let's hear your opinion now. It's been Taylor talking. Taylor, you should take out Chrissy to Chili's dinner. We are both homebodies. We just order Uber Eats. Come over to US Air. That is big on the list. US Air. I'd like to take the Zafiro. Compound turbos. No, that's a terrible idea. Remember Simplicity? Florida Drag Week. Is it in February? Ooh, that might be doable. It's called Sick Week, I think, right? That's a goal to shoot for, because that's totally doable. I just gotta not let backstory on the Vette. So the guy that I got it from has a bunch of cool cars. He's drifted. He was a student of Denofa's, I guess. So Denofa knew him, and he was building the car. I don't know if he was planning to go straight to Pro 1 or just building it to a Pro 1 level, but he just kind of got tired of it and never finished it. Green Ripper drag truck. Yeah, so it's going to be a street truck. I will drag race it. I just don't want to go so extreme as to like put a power glide in a cage and trans brake and all this stuff on it. At least not yet, because then it's still going to be just a heavy, big truck. Like, it's never going to be that fast no matter what I do to it. Sean Coleri, do a shirt and banner combo. We will support whatever your dream is. Dude, your storytelling is incredible. Thank you. You guys are so nice to me, man. It's so crazy. I was just thinking about it today, like how just crazy. I just appreciate things. My truck trailer was hooked up outside, and I was looking at it. I'm like, man, this is such a sick setup. And I think people think I'm bragging. Like if I have a friend with me, and I'm like, man, this is so sick. And it's not me bragging at all. It doesn't really, it's just a thing. It's me going like, wow, this is cool. I remember when wanting a truck with a trailer was a huge deal. Like just getting a truck and a trailer was like massive. Just a raggedy old first gen and a raggedy trailer. Now I got like my dream truck and my dream trailer. Like, it's just cool. You got to take moments to appreciate the stuff you have. There's always people out there who have more. There's always people who are out there who are doing more, but do what makes you happy. Divided being, dude, you live a cool life, appreciate it, and express the thankfulness as much as you feel like. Yeah, I'm sure I bore people with it sometimes, but I am very grateful. It's crazy, like just some of you know the backstory, but I just kind of fell into YouTube because I met Adam and he was like, hey, you should start a YouTube channel, and like really pushed me to do it. And I didn't even know it was a thing until I met him, and he just held my hand, pushed me into it, helped me get it started, and here I am. My life would be totally different without him doing that. Let's see. I've got your first drift car. Mine is an 86 944, the LS6 swap. I do want another 944 at some point. Ask Cooper if ATF can help you out on the truck transmission. Oh, that's a good point. I should hit Cooper up. I need to find someone local to rebuild it. I was going to get a B&M from Holly, which huge shout out to Holly in general. They have been awesome, man. They've already helped me out so much on all the projects. And like this car, I'm already getting parts in for it. They have been... If you get a chance, go follow Holly on Instagram and tell them thank you, because they have done so much for me the past few years helping get these projects done. I couldn't do it without them. Supercharger with a good exhaust will definitely get attention from the judges. Yeah, man, you make it pop and bang, it's loud. With a Supercharger one, you watch Alex's car and it just looks absurd. And that's kind of the whole thing with this car. I'm finally going to see how the other half lives. And someone asked, how do I think it'll affect the driving? I have no idea. It might be harder than driving my Miata, trying to tame some 900 horsepower beast with crazy tires, it's definitely gonna be a totally different thing. I'm gonna have to learn how to drive it, how to set it up, The cool thing though is like you watch Alex's car, and in drifting, it's all about timing. The difference between a good chase driver and a great chase driver is anticipation. You see, the great chase driver will anticipate what the guy's gonna do before he does it. And that's key to staying close. If you guys go through a transition and you wait until that guy is getting on throttle, he's gonna pull a gap, at least for a second, and then you're gonna have to close it up. But if you get on throttle early, dive right in, it just makes for better tandem. Brian Davidson, super excited for the Vette and the truck. Thank you. Both of them are happening now, soon. So yes, point is, with a turbo car, you have to be quicker, because it's gonna take the car a second or so to really spool back up, get the wheel speed ripping. With Alex's car, for example, instant. Like he can instantly go from 30 miles an hour wheel speed to 100. Same with Taylor Hull's car, things like that. Just the supercharged cars, they have that instant wheel speed. So he can afford to wait a second, make sure the car gets moving, and then boom, still be right on their door. You should do a crowdsource your car, $1 for every vote. Car, color, body kit, supercharger, turbocharged. A lot of votes means a lot of crowdsourcing. That is a cool idea. I don't know if I could do it as far as the engine goes. I couldn't leave my hands in the fate. I don't know. I'm too pragmatic to just let that be up to chance or whatever. Would you run Prospect if Adam approached you to be on his team under Drift HQ? Absolutely. I would run Prospect if anyone approached me to do it that had a car set up, I could do it. But Adam's got enough going on with his own stuff, man. I don't know how he does it. I don't know how the man does. Him and Cletus both. They're better men than me. I don't know how they keep up with so much stuff. I can barely freaking just do basic business stuff on top of filming and editing and working on my cars. Give Craig at Kong Performance a call. He makes a CNC'd twin screw good for 1,000 wheel. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. Richard Miata, future drift cars. I watch this. That's cool. Drift HQ would be a great sponsor. Yeah, this is going to be a new thing too. Like if I were to try to go to any bit of FD Prospect Pro 1, like trying to get financial sponsorship, I've gotten parts sponsored, and that to me feels normal, right? Like, if I'm going to use it and show it and whatever, cool. But to ask people for money for me to go like run a thing, like, I don't know. I for some reason I have a problem with that. I feel weird. Like, hey, give me money to put a sticker on your car, on my car, to go compete. I mean, I would need that to make it possible. I mean, pretty much every driver at that level has sponsors, financial sponsors, but it's definitely a new thing. More kitty content. I know whenever the shop happens, if it ever happens at this point, January, what does it say? They can't do what they want because they don't build or work on their own cars. Those guys have a big team to help them out. Yeah, but still, like them juggling so many decisions and like just the mental strain for me of like trying to keep up with what I have to do video wise, project wise, ordering parts, planning, etc., and trying to keep up with house stuff, business stuff. There's a dead tree in the neighbor's yard, and these people are renting it, and I got in contact with the property management company. They asked the owner, I offered to split it with him to cut it down. The dude's like, no, I don't have the budget. He was being a jerk about it. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to pay to cut down your whole tree. Like, come on, I'm offering to split cutting down your tree, but it's like an 80-foot tall tree that is dead, and it will crush my trailer, my container, my shop. It'll crush something, or it'll kill somebody, or it'll fall over there. I don't know, but I want to get that tree cut down, and I've been meaning to call the people back for like a week, and I haven't called them back because I'm too busy with. And same with merch. I don't ever hardly push merch and come out with new designs because it's just like, my brain can't keep track of that many things at once, along with everything. You have a P.O. box? I don't. I'm going to set one up, I promise. That'll be one of those things that I just won't do. I'm so good at, I don't procrastinate on working on cars, projects, building stuff, even editing and filming. But when other things outside of that realm of getting videos filmed and projects done and videos out, I'm just, don't do it. I know I do need to hire someone. I've been trying to have, pay Josue to help me with certain things, and that's helped a lot. So how much would selling the current motor and turbo setup out of the Vette make you an ET on the Drift Vette completion? So ET on the Drift Vette completion, it's got to be done by February so we can test it by March. We need plenty of time, at least a month, to work out the bugs. I'm not trying to do this show up to the freaking first round and have issues thing. It'd be pointless. We'd be better off taking the Miata than showing up to this thing untested, showing up with this thing untested. And selling the motor, I don't know. It's hard to know what a used motor, it's pretty much brand new, but I don't know what it would go for in today's market. The thing is, if I sell the turbo setup's worth some money because the intake manifold's worth $3 or $4 grand because it's a billet intake manifold, and then the turbo with the wastegate and the stuff and the things probably worth a decent bit of money, and then the stock trans is worth about $4 grand with the torque tube. The car came with a tilt and triple disc, so we should be able to save some of that cost down. You going to SEMA? I know Jack Davis is doing the Burnyard with his Pro E36. Oh, I like Jack. No. Goes back to me being a slacker and a homebody. All this stuff has snuck up on me. Again, goes back to that focusing so hard on just doing projects, getting videos out. But that's what I love to do, that and going drifting, So I should have gone to SEMA this year. I didn't even know if it was happening or not until recently, and everyone's like, SEMA crunch. And I'm like, oh, I guess it is happening. No, probably not going to SEMA. Spam the chat with do not sell. No, I'm keeping the engine. It's a solid engine. Yes, it's overkill, but my thing was just getting into a cheaper motor that if I blew it up, I wouldn't feel so bad blowing up an expensive motor. But as long as we keep our program, our ship tight, we run a tight ship, we shouldn't blow it up. I should not say that. We have to really stay on top of things. We can't let what happened at round one where my injectors got clogged up happen. I can't just not worry about my injectors, because if they clog up on an NA stock motor like my Miata, dude, that thing was running on and off 5, 6, 7 cylinders, super lean, didn't care, still has perfect compression. That's an NALS. When you add forced induction onto that, all that extra heat, you start to lean out, and you melt pistons and blow things up. So run an NA for a season and see how it does, and you can decide what route, rather than changing everything and not being happy with it. Yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. It'll just depend. If we can get some help from a supercharger company to get a supercharger on the car, I'm definitely going to go that route. If we cannot, but again, then I'm waiting on Field. He said he was going to talk to me tonight or at some point about how he figured out his thing, because I don't know how you put a supercharger on this with a dry sump. seems complicated. There's just not enough room for 3 pulleys. So, trailer plans, I don't really have any new plans for the trailer. It is going to get a little tight with this car, but this car is no longer than the Zafiro, and there's still enough room with the Zafiro. I really want to get a mini golf cart. I want to do a video on pit vehicles, because I love my one wheels, and then we have the Zoomer, and I have the freaking pit bike right here. Someone said show your feet. I got freaking, tie-dye Crocs on, and sweatpants. The pit bike, I've had kind of every kind of pit vehicle. I want to do a video on like what's the best pit vehicle. I think that would be cool. Let me know if you think that would be good. Okay, probably start wrapping up. Drift Week 4 plans. I'm trying to go, but I have led it to the last minute, kind of like things like that I do. So I'm hoping I can make it happen. I don't know. We'll see. What's your plan with the Miata? So that's a lot of people. That's another subject of debate. Sounds like you need to employ someone. Yeah, I do. It's just finding the right person. And like the things that I need done are like all like personal and business behind the scenes things. And I don't really like doing those, but it'd be hard to have somebody else do those. Like I just want to work on my cars and make videos and go drifting. That's really all I want to do. I have to do this other stuff to make that happen. Okay, so what were we saying? Miata, playing with the Miata. I said I would sell it or do a giveaway. People weren't very happy about that idea. People don't like you getting rid of cars. I think people get more sentimentally attached to my car, like a car, than I do, or other people's cars. I don't get sentimentally attached to cars. That being said, probably 6 months, a year down the road, if I did get rid of it, I'd be like, I shouldn't have done it, for sure. And I know that's what would happen. But right now, I'm like, I don't know. I just, if I'm not driving a car at least once a month, really even every 2 weeks, let's say once a month, barring, like this is being built or going to be built or major changes, what's the point? What am I doing with it? Mobus 1, keep up the great work, been following since the Nitrous Crown Vic. Oh my gosh, that was the very first video. Most people have never seen that video. I had the waterproof case. Oh no, I almost lost you. I had the waterproof case on my Miata, or on my GoPro. You couldn't hear anything, but that was wild. We were just spraying like a full bottle of nitrous into a Crown Vic's open throttle body. If you ever want to learn to ride mini moto, so I bought a Grom to do that. I bought a set-up Grom to go mini moto racing, and I just never did it. I've learned it's really hard to do 2 motorsports. I have my 206 cart, and I have done it, and I need to go fix it and go race, but it's so hard to balance 2 motorsports, and that's as easy as it gets. How much would be a solid price for the Miata? I don't know if I could sell it, because like I couldn't put a price on it. I don't think. Unless it was like some, I don't know. I don't think I could put a price on it. I'd rather do a giveaway. Bring back the Ryan Literal intro music. So I wish I could, but okay. The thing with intro music, the thing with music and videos that I don't think people really understand, the way YouTube's copyright system works is basically, let's say I have a video that I posted a year ago with this beat in it. Now, this guy uses that same beat, and in his video, he raps over it, whatever, it doesn't matter. Uploads it into the Content ID system. He can then copyright claim my video, even though my video was published 2 years before his. Someone could literally, so 2 years before him, copyright claim me, and then YouTube doesn't get involved. That's the difficult thing. It's you going back and forth with them. So, a lot of times it's a mistake, and they drop the claim. But if they don't drop the claim, you're screwed. I had a video where I used a few seconds of elevator music, and it was royalty-free elevator music. This guy has a specific video of elevator music with a different jingle in there, copyrights it, and then goes and claims people. If you look, every single comment is like, this isn't the beat, this isn't the music I use. Like every comment is about them getting copyright claimed by this guy. And he does like manual verification, copyright claims you, and he just won't back down. And you have to either give him all your ad revenue off the video or delete the video and upload it without the sound. So that's why I don't use music, for one. 2, I like having the tool noises in it. I talked about this a couple of live streams ago, but that's a lot harder than people think. People think I'm being lazy by doing the tool noises, but I literally have to take the video and speed it up 2, 3, 4, 5 times, or 550 times, 20, 30, 40, 50 times, a lot, 5,000%, 2 to 5,000% faster. To take the audio and speed it up 250%-ish, and then I cut it up and put the noises where they go. And it's hard because a lot of times there's like not enough noises to fill it all out right, and I'm trying to find noises, and I literally end up with like let's say a 20-second time lapse might have 100 separate little parts of the audio clip in there. It's time consuming, but I just got so tired. I mean, I've probably had 100 plus copyright claims. And I have a bunch of videos right now that are on claims. And the problem is if you lose the claim, you get a strike against your account. You can only get 3 strikes, your account gets deleted. So you only want to battle one of them at a time, because if you lose, you get a strike. So it's like, I probably have 50 videos right now that are just being claimed by somebody for no reason, that didn't actually, earn it. They just uploaded a video with the same royalty-free beat. It's just silly. That's tough, and that's why I just avoid it entirely. Nothing in my videos is not mine that I don't own. Nobody can say anything. Thank you, Ben, for the email. Trying to meet Zafiro, Adam, my Zafiro, to California. California's a long way. Yeah, some people like to know music. No matter what you do, that's one thing you will learn if you ever become a YouTuber or an internet person, is you will never please everybody. You could have the music in the time lapses. I'm so sick of the music. I hate the music. Take it out. You take it out. Man, I miss the music. Blah, 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 blah. You got to claim your own videos first. I know. You got to do I don't know. You got to do the content ID thing. It probably gets more complicated. Any chance you drive for the RTR team? Who wouldn't? Absolutely. But we are nowhere near that level yet. Maybe one day. It'd be pretty cool. I like the channel the way it is. Thank you. I like it too. I'm happy with how my videos are now. I'm sure a year from now I'll look back and be like, this is trash. But it's how it happens. Every year you progress. Same thing, you look back at my driving a year ago, then a year before that. It's CTSV wagon as a drift car. See, weird cars like that are tough, because you got to develop your own angle kit. You got to develop your own suspension stuff to get the alignment right. There's so much that goes into picking a good drift car. A lot of it is to do with suspension, obviously weight, balance, things like that. It's not like a drag car where you can just kind of make anything work, like throw a solid axle under it. There's certain things that work really good and certain things that don't work well at all, and you're kind of boxed into a certain set of parameters. So doing a weird car is cool if you're just going to drift it for fun, or even, whatever. But like when you're competing, you need to have a car that works and that performs well. You're the only channel under 1 million subs that deserves 1 million subs. Thank you. Maybe one day. You got a good formula. It seems sustainable. Yeah, that's the tough thing. Part of me would like to expand and do more, but I like things the way they are. I just wish I didn't have to do all the other stuff. If I could just film, work on my cars, and edit, it'd be great. Channel is great. Hi from Scotland. Any Halloween plans? Going drifting. Well, I guess that's not Halloween. Probably not. Probably nothing. Side-by-side black collab. Those dudes are awesome. I love them. I want to get a side-by-side. I got to wait till I get any major vehicles till the shop's done. I'm trying to get a mini golf cart. They were talking about LS engine. He's a Drift HQ. Y'all dreaming. Oh, you guys with this conspiracy theory stuff. Me and my family love to watch you drive with clutch kickers. Oh, I'm glad. Clutch kickers is awesome. They do a good job. I'm glad people are watching the live streams and stuff. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up. Should go drive Donnie. Good in it. I know. My plan was to try to drive it at the drift night, because that's, pretty much like the budget way I could do this. In a built stock trans, no quick change, and we didn't have time. We were both busy driving. What Force Motorsports said? What did they say? I didn't see it. Okay, anyone else? Any more questions before I end this? Who originally started the Vette? Random guy in Chicago. Stream beats for worry-free music. What does that mean? Given the cost of a well-done Cummins swap in the mid to upper 20K, other than having the content for YouTube, Cummins swap or just buy the Ford 6.7? That is a tough call. That is a good question. So, Cummins swap versus buying a 6.7. I don't know the answer to that. The 6.7, aside from working on it, and potential failures, better truck. More power, better transmission, probably smoother, quieter, better truck. However, the Cummins swap kind of becomes a lifetime truck. You can easily rebuild a Cummins. They go forever. The transmissions are cheap. It's tough. It really depends. Like, I would say the big difference is, like, the Cummins swap truck you can work on yourself. The 6.7, obviously you can, but there's just a lot more to it. 6.7 is going to be better when it's working. Cummins is going to be better. Cummins swap Ford is going to be better if you have to work on it. So that's a tough one. I'll have to decide on that. I've talked about this to a couple people, and I don't know the answer. Supercharge that thing for reliable instant power. Where have you been? That's what we've been talking about doing this whole time. Not a question. Wanted to say love your content. Thank you, Robert. ATI balancers adapter for the dry sump and 8-rib. The problem is the room. It's got an ATI damper on it. It's got the dry sump cog, boom, for the dry sump, and then no room to the steering shaft. So that's the big problem. How old is too old to get into drifting any other motorsports? You're never too old, dude. Ever. Never. Why would you think that? You're never too old to get into drifting. Okay, when's the next video on the C6? Probably next week. I'm going to go borrow Matt DeJean's transmission, put it in here, see how front trans fits, go on from there. Alex stuff will sell the Miata and buy a side-by-side. They're about the same size. I like that idea. Something new. Thanks for answering, Taylor. Does anyone besides George actually port blowers at faster pumps? I don't know. It's a good question. Get an AccuSump. I'm a big fan of dry sumps. Oiling systems on an LS are huge. Yes, AccuSump baffle pan works. This car already has a really nice dry sump. I'm a big dry sump fan. I like dry sumps. I have a dry sump on my Miata. Nowhere near as nice as this one. This is a 5-stage dailies, but I like dry sumps. I'm not getting rid of the dry sump. I'll figure out something else before I get rid of the dry sump. Okay, guys, gonna wrap it up. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for the donations. You guys are awesome. Cliff Notes, work on a shirt for the Vette build if you guys want to help support it. Get the car done soon. Turbo truck. We got lots going on. Always fun stuff. So, again, thank you guys for tuning in. I always have fun doing these. I'll probably do one soon. Let me know. Comment if you want to see another one. But for now, that's it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. This is weird to end the live stream that way. Goodbye. Didn't let me quick exit.